Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're really getting into the story of an artist who I think lived this incredibly dramatic, almost exhausting double life, George Michael. Most people picture the icon, the shades, the massive hits, but there's so much more when you look past that image.
Oh, absolutely. Our sources dig into Georgios Kyriakos Panayiotou, the real person behind the name. We're talking about the songwriter, the political voice, the guy who took on his record label, and maybe most surprisingly, this incredibly quiet philanthropist.
Yeah, it's fascinating. An artist who sold, over 125 million records?
Yeah.
Huge numbers. Yet he spent so much of his later career trying to sort of dismantle the very fame he'd built.
Exactly, and the scope here is massive. We're going from his roots, Greek Cypriot dad, English mom in North London, right through the whole Wham phenomena, then the absolute global dominance of faith, those huge legal battles, and all the way to his Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction in 2023.
So our mission today is really to explore that conflict. The struggle with his own identity versus the public persona, the fight against celebrity culture, and also to uncover this amazing hidden generosity that seems to have been a huge part of his life, but kept so quiet.
So let's start right at the beginning, because the name itself is important. Georgios Kyriakos Panayiotou, born in East Finchley, London. His dad, a Greek Cypriot restaurateur, came over in the 50s. His mom was an English dancer. That mix, the immigrant work ethic maybe, combined with that English pop scene, it feels significant for his ambition.
And the ambition was definitely there early on. I found this interesting jit in the sources from his Desert Island Discs interview. He talked about a head injury when he was about 8.
Oh, yeah, I saw that too.
And he said after that, his interest in music just spiked, like massively. It sounds almost like a light bulb moment, Suddenly, music was everything.
And even before Wham really took off, he was already out there doing it, working as a DJ, playing local clubs, school dances in Northwood. The sources mention him busking on the London Underground, too.
Really? Busking?
Yeah, apparently covering Queen songs like 39, just honing his craft. He even had this short-lived ska band, The Executive, with Andrew Ridgeley's brother and a few others.
Which leads us straight to meeting Andrew Ridgeley at Bushy Mead School.
Yeah.
And the sources make it clear this wasn't just kids hanging out. It was like a pact. They were both dead serious about making it in music.
Absolutely. That partnership was key for Wham. But right before things blew up, there was a very conscious decision about his name.
Right, the name change.
Exactly. Georgios Panayiotou legally became George Michael, doing that just before fame hit.
Well, it shows he already understood the global market, didn't it? He knew George Michael would travel better internationally. Smart move. And boy, did it pay off fast. Wham's first album, fantastic. It's #1 in the UK in '83. Then Make It Big just conquers the world. US #1, massive singles like Wake Me Up Before You Go Go and Everything She Wants. They just captured that early '80s energy perfectly.
Totally. But maybe the defining moment for Wham beyond the charts was that trip to China in 1985. That was something else.
Oh, absolutely historic. The first Western pop band to play in China, the media coverage was insane, wasn't it? Like that Chicago Tribune headline, East meets Wham and another great wall comes down. It sounds dramatic, but it really was a cultural moment.
And the stories from the trip are brilliant. Their manager, Simon Napier-Bell, apparently spent like 18 months just convincing the Chinese officials to even let them play.
Wow.
And the Chinese TV host, Kan Li-jun, talked about how the audience just didn't know what to do at a pop concert.
Right, like the clapping anecdote. George Michael tries to get them clapping along rhythmically.
Yeah, to Club Tropicana or something.
Yeah. And they just give him polite applause instead, like at a classical concert. It's such a great image. It really shows the culture clash.
Yeah, it really does. But even amongst all that craziness and pop stardom, Michael was already showing that charitable side. They were part of Band-Aid in '84. Do they know it's Christmas? And he made the call to donate all the royalties from Last Christmas and Everything She Wants to the Ethiopian famine relief.
That's significant, using that huge platform for good, right from the start. But you could already see, couldn't you, that Wham wasn't going to be the final destination for him. Those solo tracks he put out while still in Wham were huge.
Oh, massive. Careless Whisper, #1 in, 25 countries? That's just staggering. And then a different corner in '86, another UK #1. When you've got solo hits that big, well, the writing's on the wall.
Yeah, the split seemed pretty amicable, though. They went out with a bang at Wembley Stadium, the final concert in '86. And that really cleared the path for him to go solo properly.
Right, moving into that huge solo career. And the sources really point to a deliberate strategy to be taken seriously, not just as the guy from Wham. Even before the Faith album, he drops that massive duet.
Oh, with Aretha Franklin? I knew you were waiting for me.
Free.
That was huge in early '87.
Huge, and such a statement. #1 UK, #1 US, wins a Grammy for Best R&B Performance, singing with the Queen of Soul. That wasn't just a hit song, that was George Michael saying, okay, I belong here with the icons. It was a massive personal achievement for him too, apparently.
Totally set the stage. But then the first single from Faith lands. And it wasn't playing it safe, was it? I Want Your Sex.
Not at all. Deliberately provocative, and the backlash was instant. Radio stations everywhere were either banning it or playing that edited I Want Your Love version. The title alone freaked people out.
And the video didn't help with Kathy Yoon. MTV stuck it on late night only. But I love his defense of it.
Oh, the exploring monogamy line. Classic.
Right. He even does that little intro in the video writing, explore monogamy and lipstick. It's kind of brilliant, using this hypersexual song and video to argue for, well, commitment.
It was genius marketing, really. Controversial, but it still got to #2 on Billboard. And it perfectly set up the image for the title track, Faith.
The Faith look. Instantly recognizable, even now. The leather jacket, the shades, the boots, the Levi's, that guitar.
Yeah.
It was the late '80s distilled into one image.
Absolutely iconic. And the success that followed was just off the charts. Faith, the album. 51 weeks in the Billboard Top 10, that's nearly a year. 12 weeks at #1.
And 4 straight #1 singles in the U.S. alone. Faith, Father Figure, One More Try, Monkey. That's incredible dominance.
Totally. Sold over 25 million copies worldwide. He'd done it transformed from pop star to global solo superstar, and then, of course, the Grammy for Album of the Year in '89. The absolute peak.
The peak. But the sources, especially that film, A Different Story, paint a really different picture behind the scenes, don't they?
Oh, completely. That moment of ultimate triumph winning Album of the Year was apparently when it all crashed down for him personally. Exhaustion, loneliness, feeling totally isolated by the fame.
It's such a stark contrast. What did the sources suggest was the root of that? Just the insane workload? Or was it deeper, like maintaining that specific faith image while hiding who he really was?
It seems like a toxic combination of both. He felt trapped by the persona he'd created, the one that was selling millions of records, alienated from his life, his friends. The machine he built was basically eating him alive.
Wow. And his reaction to that burnout really shaped everything that came next, didn't it?
Absolutely. He told Sony, his record label, point blank, I'm not doing promotion for the next album. No videos, no interviews, nothing. He was hitting the brakes hard, rejecting the whole celebrity game he'd just mastered. That decision basically defined the next decade of his career.
So that refusal to play the game leads directly into the next album, 1990's Listen Without Prejudice, Volume 1. Even the title is a statement, isn't it?
It's a direct challenge. Like, listen to the songs, forget the image. And, it worked critically. It won Best British Album at the Brits in '91. People were willing to listen.
But he really stuck to his guns on the no promotion thing. It wasn't just talk.
Not at all. He literally refused to be in his own music videos, which led to the iconic Freedom 90 video directed by David Fincher.
Oh, with all the supermodels. Naomi Campbell, Cindy Crawford, Linda Evangelista.
Exactly. Lip-syncing his lyrics. It was this amazing act of defiance that somehow became even more of a cultural moment because he wasn't in it. Pure genius, in a way.
And the music itself changed, too. Much more serious themes. Praying for time, tackles social problems, injustice.
Yeah, and Mother's Pride became this unofficial anthem during the first Gulf War in '91. Radio stations apparently played it alongside calls from soldiers' families. He was using his voice differently.
But this whole stance demanding artistic control, refusing promotion, inevitably led to conflict with Sony, right? That infamous lawsuit.
Oh, massively. That conflict basically derailed everything for a while. The sources mentioned there was supposed to be a Listen Without Prejudice Volume 2, but it got shelved because of the legal battle.
Let's unpack that lawsuit a bit, because it gets talked about a lot, but what was the actual core issue? It wasn't just about wanting to make different music, was it?
No, it was fundamental. He was arguing his long-term contract with Sony was basically unfair. He used terms like professional slavery, arguing it locked him in for potentially decades, and punished him if he didn't just keep churning out Faith-style hits. He felt creatively stifled.
So he was kind of fighting for all artists, in a way, challenging the whole power structure of major labels at the time.
Pretty much. Arguing that artists shouldn't be forced to compromise their art or sit on the shelf just because a label didn't like their new direction. It was incredibly brave considering the legal costs and the career hiatus it caused.
And he actually lost the main case, didn't he?
He did, yeah. The UK court ruled the contract was valid. But the lawsuit itself sent shockwaves through the industry. It definitely inspired other artists, like Prince, who fought similar battles later. It changed the conversation about artist contracts, even if he didn't win personally in court. He sacrificed years for that principle.
While all that legal stuff was swirling, he delivered arguably one of the greatest live vocal performances ever. The Freddie Mercury tribute concert in '92.
Oh, absolutely legendary. His version of Queen's Somebody to Love at Wembley, just stunning. Brian May himself said there was a note he hit that was pure Freddie.
Coming from Brian May, that's huge praise.
Yeah.
And George Michael himself called it the proudest moment of his career, like living out a childhood dream.
And importantly, the profits from the 5 Live EP, which featured that performance, went to the Mercury Phoenix Trust for AIDS research.
Which connects so deeply to his own personal story, doesn't it? That brings us to Jesus to a Child.
Yeah, released in '96 but written earlier. Such a beautiful, melancholic song. And it was a direct tribute to his partner, Anselmo Falepa, the Brazilian designer he'd fallen in love with, who tragically died from an AIDS-related brain hemorrhage in 1993.
What's really striking is how personal that song was. It's nearly 7 minutes long, definitely not aiming for radio play. And the sources say he always dedicated it to Anselmo live, years before he officially came out in '98. It's like this public yet private acknowledgement of his love and loss.
A very respectful way to handle it through his music. Then, moving into the 2000s, he got even more willing to risk controversy for his beliefs, particularly politically.
You mean Shoot the Dog, the 2002 single?
Exactly. A really blunt, satirical attack on the build-up to the Iraq War.
Yeah, the video was pretty out there. Tony Blair is George W. Bush's poodle. You don't get much more direct than that, especially at that time, post 9/11.
It was incredibly risky career-wise. He basically said the UK-US special relationship was making Britain dangerous. He knew it could alienate fans, especially in America, but he did it anyway. And then he followed it up in 2003 covering Don McLean's anti-Vietnam song, The Grave. McLean himself praised him for it.
All this defiance, this pushing against expectations, it kind of leads into that major turning point in his personal life, the arrest in Beverly Hills in April '98.
Right, the public lewdness incident, arrested by an undercover cop. That was the event that basically forced him to publicly come out as gay.
And his response was just peak George Michael, wasn't it?
Totally. Straight away, he writes the song outside, makes this hilarious video mocking the whole situation, police officers kissing, disco balls in the bathroom. He just owned it and turned the joke back on them.
Didn't the arresting officer try to sue him over that?
Yeah, sued for $10 million for emotional distress or slander because of the video, I think. But the case got thrown out. Later on, Michael had this really interesting take on it, saying the whole incident felt like a subconsciously deliberate act.
Like, part of him wanted to be caught, to end the pressure of hiding.
That's kind of how it sounds, yeah. Like the strain of living that double life just became too much, and something had to give.
So, understanding that pressure, let's look at the timeline of his identity struggle. He told Andrew Ridgeley he was bisexual way back when he was 19.
Yeah, according to the sources. He talked about this internal conflict for years, partly thinking maybe he'd end up with a woman because his early fantasies involved women.
But he said the conflict really resolved itself when he fell in love with Anselmo Falepa in '91. He told The Advocate magazine it was falling for a man that ended the confusion. But the main reason he stayed closeted for so long...
It was concern for his mother. He was worried about how it would affect her. That really tells you something about his priorities protecting his family over, perhaps, his own peace of mind or professional honesty at the time.
After Anselmo's tragic death, his longest relationship was with Kenny Goss, right? From '96 to about 2009.
That's right. They were even planning a civil partnership, but apparently it got postponed because of negative press and tour schedules. Sadly, it was his later partner, Fadi Fawaz, who found him on Christmas morning 2016.
But alongside these relationships, the later years were definitely marked by struggles. Substance abuse issues were widely reported.
Yeah, he was quite open about it at times, talked about his cannabis use being problematic. He mentioned cutting down from 25 spliffs a day to maybe 7 or 8, which still quite a lot. And struggles with sleeping pills were documented too.
And that led to more run-ins with the law, especially driving-related incidents. The big one being the Snappy Snaps crash in 2010.
Right, driving his Range Rover into the shopfront in Hampstead. He got arrested for driving under the influence of drugs, ended up serving 4 weeks in prison.
And then there's that bizarre little detail the sources mention. Someone later spray-painted Wham in the dent on the shop wall.
Yeah, strange, isn't it? A weird commentary on fame following him even in his lowest moments.
His health really took a frightening dive in 2011, though. That bout of pneumonia in Vienna.
Terrifyingly serious. He ended up in a coma, needed a tracheotomy. It forced him to cancel his tour.
And didn't the sources mention a really weird side effect after he woke up from the coma?
Oh, yeah, this is incredible. He said that when he woke up, for a while, he spoke with a West Country accent, like from the southwest of England.
No way!
Seriously. Doctors thought it might be foreign accent syndrome, this rare neurological thing after trauma. Can you imagine? Surviving a coma and waking up sounding completely different must have been incredibly disorienting.
Absolutely unreal. Okay, let's shift gears, though. Because alongside all this struggle and drama, there's this other, completely different side to him that really emerged after his death. The philanthropy. This is the real aha moment in the sources for me.
It's truly staggering, isn't it? The scale of his quiet, hidden generosity, it just reframes everything. Like, we know now he donated all the royalties from Jesus to a child, that deeply personal long song to Childline.
And the charity's founder, Esther Ranson, said he gave them millions over the years and always insisted on staying anonymous.
Millions anonymously. And it wasn't just about writing checks. He apparently volunteered at a homeless shelter, also anonymously. He specifically asked the other volunteers not to tell anyone he was there.
Why do you think that anonymity was so important to him?
I think it was about rejecting that whole celebrity savior thing. He didn't want the praise or the publicity, he just wanted to help. Like his support for NHS nurses. He did that free concert for them in 2006, but he also apparently set aside tickets for NHS staff at all his later shows. It was a thank you for the care his mom received.
And then there are those amazing stories of just direct, spontaneous generosity. Like seeing a woman on Deal or No Deal who needed money for IVF treatment.
And he just called the TV station afterwards and anonymously paid the £15,000 she needed.
Incredible. And apparently that wasn't a one-off. Another woman came forward saying he paid for her IVF too, after she talked about it on a morning show.
Yeah, and the story about him tipping a student nurse £5,000 because she mentioned being in debt. That's not just a tip, that's life-changing money, given quietly.
Even just in his local community in Highgate, funding the Christmas tree and the local fair every year just as a local resident, completely under the radar for a decade. It really paints a picture of someone using their immense wealth in this incredibly thoughtful, private way. It completely challenges that 80s pop star image.
So when you look back at the career, the stats are just undeniable. 10 number ones in the US, 13 in the UK. And that incredible run of being the most played artist on British radio for 20 years straight, from 84 to 04.
20 years. That's astonishing staying power. And the awards back it up, the Grammys, including Album of the Year for Faith, the Brits, the MTV Vanguard Award, and finally that Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction in 2023 with Andrew Ridgeley giving the speech. That felt like important, maybe overdue recognition.
Absolutely. And we can't talk about his legacy without talking about Last Christmas. That song's journey is just amazing.
Right. Released in 84, gets stuck at number 2 behind Band-Aid, which he was also on.
And then it takes 36 years, 36, to finally hit number 1 in the UK on New Year's Day 2021, a record at the time.
But it didn't stop there, did it?
Nope. It then became the official UK Christmas number 1 for the first time in 2023 and did it again in 2024. Only the third song ever to do that more than once. As Andrew Ridgeley said, it's just a testament to George's genius as a songwriter.
And his influence keeps going, even after his death. That 2019 movie, Last Christmas, using his music. Yeah. The release of that unheard track, This Is How You Want You to Get High, and the documentary Freedom Uncut that he was working on himself.
Yeah, narrated by him, it gives you his perspective. So you see this arc, right? Conquer the world with faith, fight tooth and nail against the industry machine with Sony, and then find this different kind of purpose, partly through political protest, but maybe even more so through that incredible hidden generosity.
He definitely used his public voice, didn't he? Taking on Bush and Blair, supporting the NHS loudly. But maybe the biggest impact was the stuff nobody saw.
That's the really interesting question, isn't it? And it leads us to that final thought for you, the listener, to chew on. Here's a guy who achieved everything you could possibly want as a pop star, the fame, the acclaim, the sales, the iconic status. But he also actively tried to escape the celebrity machine. He mocked his own fame.
So the question is, what was his truly lasting contribution? Was it the music that everyone knows and loves? Or was it the way he used his money and influence quietly, behind the scenes, to make a direct difference in people's lives and support causes he believed in, completely outside the spotlight?
It really makes you think about what legacy actually means for someone like him. Was the private impact ultimately more profound than the public one?
A really powerful question. Maybe the greatest acts of faith for him, were the ones performed when no one was watching.
An incredible life and definitely a complex one to explore. Thanks for diving deep with us today.
Yeah, thanks for listening.